Good afternoon, everybody. It's so good to be back to talk to you again. Today, I just want to introduce myself briefly. My name is Sarah M. I grew up in Cambodia. Started out beautiful. My life was in the countryside. I'm a child of the farmers. So, everything natural and beautiful. But when I grew up and I got a chance to go to college, I left home. I went to college alone by myself, and all my family are behind. And while I was in college, a terrible thing happened to all of us in Cambodia. That's when the communists took over our country. They turned our beautiful country upside down and turned my life upside down as well. And they shut down everything. I mean the true pandemic. We have nothing. We were forced to leave everything, to walk away from our place and go away from the city. To make a long story short, I struggled through this system, try to survive the abuse, the starvation, and the forced labor. But God is so faithful. I cannot say enough how God protected me. He kept me alive. I survived. And not only that, He helped me to protect me when I crossed the border, escaped from Cambodia. I found a refugee camp in Thailand in the border and made connection with my only relative in United States. That's how I got here. So I've been here almost 40 years. I wrote my story in the book. It's called How I Survived the Killing Fields. And the book is available on my website, sarahm.com. And I also go out in the community sharing my story by speaking. I'm an inspirational speaker. So if you ever need somebody to inspire your audience, reach out to me or to Lee. We're available. So that's all I want to say.
Thank you, Sarah. So while Sarah's is fighting in the jungle, my family and I were swimming out in the sea. Well, we are in the same, very similar situation, almost the same time frame. 1979, that's when we escaped Vietnam. But the communists also took over in 1975. I think it's pretty much in the same year. Cambodia and Vietnam are very similar. We're neighbor country. We speak different language. Eat different food, but we have the same problem, communists invading. And that was very much the same time frame. So I was referred as a boat people, and I was born in Vietnam, but I'm not Vietnamese, I am Chinese. Moving forward, it's all about thriving. We left Vietnam and we left refugee camp with a lot of struggle. And the first decade in America was no short of struggles, because people think that once they being sponsored, they get to America, refugee is done, your past is done and you can move on. But I just want to let people know that that is a huge misconception. It's not really true. We've gone through a really burst out of lots of struggles in order to be able to assimilate into America. And I have changed my career several times over. And one of the career that I enjoy the most is the being in the sewing industry, in the creative industry, in the place that where I exit my scientific career and then stepping into a world of unknown, of business, of completely not sure how to handle things. And I get into an industry of love, of sharing, and of just so much passion and so many people helping me. But I have to say that one big thing that I'm very proud about myself is I don't skim on investing on myself. So before I get off my regular well-paying life, I invested in the sewing industry. That's where I met Susan Woodcock. She was my fabricating 104 instructor in North Carolina. And immediately I really love Susan because she is got this Southern charm, and she's just such a grounded person. And it's always very calm and collective and always helpful and serving. And we have been friends ever since. And I stepped away from the industry for 5 years now. But it is my honor and my pleasure to have my friend Susan here.
Thank you, Lee and Sarah, and nice to meet you, Sarah. And I'm Susan Woodcock, and I live in Western North Carolina in the Blue Ridge Mountains in a small town called Tryon. And my husband, Rodger Walker, he's a retired firefighter, and we own a small trade school for the sewing industry. So when Lee talked about going and taking the 104 window treatments, that was at a previous school in the area in North Carolina where I was a teacher, and that school closed. And so I don't know, I just decided to open a school, and it's our 3rd year. It's going really well, except for COVID, but I'm teaching online. And we also produce a conference every year for the custom workroom industry. So that's for people who make draperies and slipcovers and upholstery. And Lee is our keynote speaker for the next conference. Fire everybody, and you'll get to see all your old friends.
Absolutely. I'm telling you, if you are thinking about even embarking on the career of window treatment, this is the place to be, because there's so much supportive and so much love and so much sharing. And everybody is so giving. I just want to share to people that if you have a desire to have a creative career, a decorating or window treatment, you need to talk to Susan.
I talk and mentor a lot of people, and during the COVID times, people got out their sewing machines and started making masks and doing quilting and doing things that they haven't done in years, and oiled and dusted off their sewing machines. So I have heard from a lot of people that are now thinking, way that maybe they lost their job or they're home with their kids, and can sewing be a career? And it absolutely can.
So many vendor supports and schools like Susan's, will walk you through the process and every single step that you need to do to be a successful business. You're not a seamstress.
You are a professional. She used to say, the late Cheryl Strickland, she would make everybody stand up and say, I am a professional. Yeah. And that really changes your mindset.
Right.
Because a lot of people are working at home and it doesn't feel professional, but you are.
Yeah. So, but you have a story, Susan. I mean, you've gone through, like I said, I didn't know you because I was thinking about, you are so together. You have a magazine, you were the editors, you got, you were teaching and you were leading in so many fronts. And then I saw what you want to share.
My mother had a sewing business in our home, and she was widowed at a really young age, and that's how she provided for her family. She had 5 children to raise after my dad died. So I grew up in that industry, or grew up with a workroom in the home, and that's all I've ever done. So when I became an adult and I graduated college with an art degree, so I opened a drapery workroom because that's what I knew. So I've been doing that for a long time, and I got married and was married to someone who was a creative as well, and a contractor. He did historic restoration. So it sort of went hand in hand. I was doing interiors and he was remodeling homes, and we were married for probably about 10 years or more. And he became addicted to drugs and alcohol, and it was really subtle, and it creeped up on me. Like, I didn't realize what was happening until we were under pressure of bills not getting paid and things. And we were both self-employed. That was really, really tough. You don't have a certain amount of money coming in every month. Yeah. And so I had to pick up and do more work while trying to help him. And I took my marriage vows very seriously and wanted to help him. It just didn't end up that way. The opioid epidemic in the United States has ruined many, many families. And we didn't have children, so it could have been worse. But that was just something I had to face, that fear of, do I stay or do I go? And he wasn't a bad person. He wasn't abusive to me, except in that way, abusing himself. But I couldn't trust him anymore. And in 2009, I left Virginia. I lived in Virginia, and left and moved to North Carolina to start a new life and get a divorce, and really left everything behind. I even sold the contents of my home. I lost everything. So it was a really hard time. Workroom industry, and Lee, you talked about what a loving and supportive industry it is. That really helped me to have something to focus on positive. You know, even though my personal life was really, really bad, I had this passion and a work career that was really supportive. It gave me a lot of opportunities.
I think it's about choice.
No, it wasn't easy. You know, that was really hard, and I've had to build back.
But Susan, I want to say something that I've known a bunch of friends who are going through very similar situation. They get caught, and you know, not like just, you know, it doesn't matter if you have children or not. It's difficult, but definitely when you have children, it's more difficult. For how do you, you know, be responsibly bring up the children. It is so tough when the person is not a bad person, like you say, you know, your husband is not bad, but the addiction is bad, and the responsibility because of the addictions is bad, and there's a lot of fear about people know, and even writing my book, it was just a lot of fear. A lot of shames and guilt about telling about my family, telling about my flaws, and telling about all the things that I had to face.
That was really brave.
Well, you
really
are brave too right now, because I think people are going through crisis, and by seeing somebody else that deliberately take a choice to step out and do something. And we're going to get to the thrive part that Susan is getting to, because that she was courageous enough to step out of that painful and have to make a very, very painful decision, and even with, you know, loss of something. And I have been through some loss period too, and that's going to be for book 2. But something that you're going to have to say, that my dad always say, you know, you can take it up, you can put it down. Meaning that, you know, if it doesn't work, you have to let go. My mantra sometimes that you're lingering because you feel like you are helping. You don't want to create more pain. I didn't know the story. I just know that you were married, and then you met Rodger. And then I just, you know, something in between, maybe just not happy, but I didn't know anything further than that. But I think the shame, the guilt about doing something, about people gonna think what's going on with us, is preventing us to make ourselves happy. And I'm just so glad that you make the decision to find you're happy, you focus on your passion. So that was really difficult. But how did you meet Rodger?
Well, you know, at some point in previous marriage, I just decided to do it, to put me first, and to make sure I took care of myself. If there's anything that, if someone's going through that, I want them to know that that's okay. It's okay to put yourself first and take care of yourself.
I think the part that lots of people think that if I'm doing something like that, I feel like I'm selfish. No, you're not. Because when you're not happy, nobody around you gonna be happy.
Yeah. But then there's Rodger. So, and I don't want this to be, I don't want to give the impression that a man saved me, you know, that sort of thing. Cause I don't want women that are watching to feel like that's the story here. But I wasn't planning to marry again, or, you know, I was perfectly fine being independent and by myself. And I didn't think I'd trust anyone again. But my brother and sister-in-law set us up, and they had to set us up a second time, and the second time worked. And, you know, the first year that after my divorce and after getting together with Rodger, the first year that we were able to take checks at Christmas time to charities, where I could afford to give money to charities. I couldn't even do it. I just started crying. I couldn't walk into, you know, these places that we wanted to support. It was just so emotional for me because I could actually afford to help others. But it's been amazing. It's wonderful to be with somebody who wants the same things that you want. And I've had a lot of crazy ideas. So like opening a school and starting a conference.
I think you saved the industry for some reason. I think that because, I mean, we have a chain of people who started it, who founded it, and then who sold it over, and an easy industry because you have to always evolve and go with whatever modern technology and things. And because just like any industry, you know, there's in and there's out, but how are you going to maintain it? By evolving yourself, which I see how you will keep up with everything that it needs to be done in order to support not just your own workroom, but hundreds and thousands of other workroom across the United States. And even some of them come from Jamaica and Bahamas.
We do. We get people from all over the world that come, and everybody comes together like a family. It's really wonderful.
And I miss that. That's one thing I miss about going back, and I can't wait till next year because it just feels like a big family reunion, and it just really inspiring. You walk out and you get all kind of crazy idea about your business, not crazy, but making money.
Well, you never know.
Sometimes crazy idea is the best one because nobody else has it.
And I love in your book when you talk about sewing and your mom sewing, and it was such a big part of your survival.
And we have very similar because we have moms or tailors and makers. Tell us about the conference too. Tell us about how do you gather all this people who are creative in sewing and actually be able to make some really good money by being a fabricator or Woodcock decorator.
I'm not as familiar with the industry of garment sewing and things like that.
Yeah, and the window treatment we're talking about.
The window treatment industry, customers are, buying custom made products. You're having to go to somebody, local or in the United States that's here, that's meeting with you in person and having that relationship. I think you were talking about that, Lee, and Sarah on with another guest on your program about building relationships with customers. And you were talking about going in people's closets and,
Yeah, intimate place, right? I mean, going to the bathroom, the closet.
So you really, and I always work with interior designers, and I still do a little bit of interior design, working with the trade. And I would know more about their schedules. I had keys to their houses, more than, like their husbands would say, where's my wife? I was like, well, she has this appointment, this forward and backwards and what they wanted. And so it really is this career about relationships with people and helping people create beautiful homes and environments. And that's so important. Sarah, do you sew?
I sew when I was young.
Yeah.
My mom learned how to make clothes, and she sewed for other people as well. So as a young age, I learned how to make my own blouse, my own outfit. So yes, I love it. I enjoy, but I haven't sewed for a long time.
But one thing I find, if you can sew clothing, go over and start checking out window treatment.
Yeah,
because
so
window treatment is so much more fun and easier to sew, and you can make a very good lucrative living. With window treatment.
It's a great business to have in your home. You just need a big work table. You need space. And that's the intimidating thing about window coverings is that everything's big.
The drapery behind Susan. I mean, there's like beautiful fabric. It brings softness to the home, and it's not hearing all this echoing.
Yeah. And tonight I have the curtains closed because it's cold.
Yes, that's the you go to. So it's insulation as well.
Yeah.
My mind is good.
Let me ask you, tell us about your magazine.
Well, I don't have a magazine now. I was editor of a magazine that was part of the school that used to be open. Lee had a feature in that, didn't you? Right?
Yes, 2009.
And I was the editor then. The magazine is still out there. It's actually now a digital magazine. It's called Drapery and Design Digital Digest. The next issue, we're going to have Lee's book featured in there. So
if you're going to switch from sewing clothing archive to window treatment, I'm telling you, that's one thing you will never hear complain about. The window is never complained that I look too fat on.
Or change sizes,
Exactly.
When you go to put it on, they've gained weight or lost weight.
Exactly. The window, it can whisper saying that, something else, but it will never tell you I'm too fat looking.
And earlier, when I first came to United States, there's some friend from church brought us some material, and the next time when they come to visit, they saw the material become the window, the shade
nice.
for the windows. So I sold it.
Susan make gorgeous pillows. There's so many things that you can actually spruce up your home with fabric.
And that's one wonderful thing about the workroom industry is you can have the size of business that you want. So I know a lot of people that use this as a second career, a retirement career or encore career.
Yeah.
Maybe they worked in a corporate career like you did, or, science or teaching or nursing. And there's so many industries that people come from that they want now they want a career that's creative. It's a great career for that. It's
So a
also a
lot
great
of people
career
are
for-
second careers.
Yeah, and for people that want to stay home for whatever reason, whether they're caregivers for parents or for the children, young children. And it can be just a small part-time job, or it can be your full-time career that, you know, supports your family.
I actually did that a year when I was still working at Mug. And
Mhm.
I figured that I could make almost as much as I did in the corporate world.
Wow.
And that's the reason that I felt like I was comfortable enough. And all of that because I invest into the school, I invest into the relationship, I invest into the industry and find out and research and doing things, everything I could, because I know I have a strong port of the industry behind me. Like if I have any problem, I call Susan and I call Donna, was my 103 teacher.
Oh, she's
And I
lovely.
would go into the forum and I would ask people how to draft up a contract, how to do things. So it's not just, you know, about sewing, but it's also about the business front that
Yeah.
you need to know, and the legal fronts, and the, you know, installation fronts, and
Yeah.
the technical fronts.
It is a little overwhelming when you get started to try to learn all those things.
Right.
Because a lot of it you just have to learn through experience. Even though there's people to help you and
Right.
the
But
resources.
you go faster when you have somebody point you the direction. So I am, and Susan have a conference every year. This is what, your 5th year or the
This was supposed to be our 5th year in 2020. We've had to skip, and
That's
so our
okay.
5th one will be in 2021.
We're gonna leap over.
I'm so glad when we're back together again. And
Yeah.
it's just been quite a year of challenges, and I know for everyone.
Sure.
Of,
Yeah.
So you're teaching a lot over internet, I suppose.
We're only doing online classes now, and most of our students, well, almost all of our students come from out of state or out of town. So people have to travel to us and stay,
Right.
you know, lodging and fly, and it's just not good
Feasible at this
to do
time.
that. So we're doing online classes. The benefit of that, I've connected with a lot more people than I would have ordinarily. So I have a lot of people that are taking online classes that can't come and can't travel and can't afford to do that. So
Right.
I'm actually connecting with a lot more students, many more students.
Yeah, no, that's good,
Wow.
because, you know, all this Zoom thing has brought a lot of new relationship.
I took a part-time job with my church as the digital communications person because we've had, all of a sudden, we had to be online.
Yeah.
So our church had to be online. So that first Sunday when we couldn't meet, I said, well, I can go Facebook Live on my phone.
Yeah.
So for months and months, we did Facebook Live every Sunday with just me and the
See,
pastor.
that's innovative. That's innovative.
But you know, we got a worship service out and people really appreciated that. And so now our church is invested in very expensive, you know, cameras that are mounted in the sanctuary and sound system, and so much.
I think almost
new
every
to
single
learn, right?
Yeah. I think almost every single churches have a stream live session of the service.
Yeah, it's so different. We're a very traditional church, and I never would have probably done that.
Yeah.
And now we can't take it away. So I can't take away the online classes at Workroom Tech. And
so now you get 2 streams of avenue, whichever you want to go. And and I would say that if anybody thinking about decorating home, I think this is probably the best time to do it. Because everybody going to throw parties and graduations and weddings and everything that's under the sun.
They've been really busy this year. I think people had put off decorating or put off upholstery. So there's been, the workrooms have been very, very busy. And of course, this time of year of the holidays, they're traditionally busy.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what happens next year.
Yeah. But I really want to say thank you for showing up here with us and joining our conversations. And it was just wonderful to see your smiling face and, you know, warm my heart.
Good.
Thank you.
It's been great to be with both of you tonight. And I look forward to watching more.
I want to say thank you, everyone. And thank you, Susan. Thank you, Sarah.
Nice to meet you, Susan.
Great to meet you.
We wish everybody have a wonderful, happy weekend. And I appreciate everyone who's watching. And I will see you on Monday. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.